Hello and happy Friday. I see Jasmine's name, so I know you're there. There you are. Where are you today, Jasmine?
I've got a picture from a friend who took it on a off the ship on a cruise to Greenland.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's like definitely a different view. Just
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
sky and
Awesome.
water. Yeah.
Well, it might be not very many people today. Joanne let me know that she might not be here, but she wants to see the recording, so I am recording. And I guess we'll just proceed. I have some fun stuff to show. Hopefully, Barb will join us. Haven't heard from Molly, so I'm trying to get in touch with her to see if she's got her computer situation worked out. But anyway, we're going to proceed. So, first and foremost, I've got parrots, and I love this shirt. It's really colorful. Let's see if I can. There we go. It reminds me of the dinosaurs eating the taco shirt colors, but it's anyway, it's really cool. So I love that. So we got to start with that. And I have a new background for you, so I move things around a little bit because we're going to do some really cool stuff today. As far as the bear, so last week he was in his beach attire, and when he was at the beach, oh my goodness, something happened, and he got snapped up by a shark. Oh my goodness. So you can see he's still got his swim trunks and his sunglasses on, but he's kind of like, I don't know, maybe he became the shark. So anyway, here's our bear today, and little buddy who didn't have any clothes except for his scrub outfit has decided to be Batman. So he's got his Batman cape, and and it's so funny because when I was at PetSmart, I was looking at the small dog, like Chihuahua size. And guess what? This is not a dog outfit. Guess what kind of animal outfit this is? What do you think?
A cat?
No, they have guinea pig Halloween outfits. This
No,
is a
really?
guinea pig. Poor guinea
Oh,
pigs. Can you just imagine? I could just imagine some little kid dressing up their that poor guinea pig is probably like, "What are you doing to me?" But they had all these different guinea pig outfits, so I had to get one. I don't know. I might have to go back when Halloween's over, clearance, because I don't know how popular guinea pig Halloween costumes are going to be, but I might have to go back and get a whole little line of clothing for my little bear. So,
your your bear shark outfit looks like those Halloween costumes for little kids. They're dinosaurs with those big heads and their little face pokes out of his neck.
I have a dragon one and a sort of a dinosaur dragon one. So hey, stand by. You might get to see that. But I went on a cruise once and I took the bear, and every night at the formal dinner he would come, and he would have different outfits, and this was one that was really popular. When you're on a cruise, it's like, oh, he went swimming, and oh, look what happened. So anyway, I have fun. So anyway, and I also found this blanket. This blanket's probably, I don't know how old it was. It was in a box, and I'm going through the blankets, and I was like, or going through the box, and I found it, and I was like, I don't want to really put it out anywhere because my cats will jump all over it. But I was like, I could hang it up and hide all the junk that's on my. I like seeing the shelf with the drums on it, but the ones that just has bass pedals and I don't know,
Oh,
random
oh,
things, I'm
oh,
like, oh,
oh.
I'm going to cover it up and turn it into a backdrop. So that's what I have here too. I have this used to be on my wall in my studio,
Oh,
two
yeah.
studios, 2 studios ago. It was my behind my drum set. So it's really cool. Well, let's just jump in here. So I have a couple of views. So I have a side view, which is pretty cool. We are in a moment going to talk about the drum machine. Feel free to interrupt me and ask questions. But before we do that, I wanted to start with my Latin stand. So you can kind of see, and I have a bunch of stuff here that I have to kind of like lean over. But the first thing on this little Latin stand, so I call it a Latin stand, but it's just a stand, and it's put out by Latin Percussion, and it's just got like these little, let's see, maybe I will give a different view. You can kind of see, well, not all that great. Anyway, it's got these little prongs. So basically all it is, it's a stand that goes to the ground, a long piece of metal with little prongs like this, like several of them. And those are perfect to put something on. So I bought these 3, they call them pots. They're like pots and pans, but they're made for drumming. And they're pitched, so you got a high, a medium, and a low. So those are kind of fun. And then what you can do is attach cowbells. So I've got this cowbell. It's red in color, and it's a bigger one. Here's a blue one that's a little smaller. And I can use normal sticks on these. I also have these kind of like little wood blocks. These are made out of plastic. This yellow one here, green one. And then these are go-go bells. And then, of course, I have to have some kind of a big finish of cymbal, and I didn't talk about this cymbal last week. I'm kind of playing with the bundle sticks because they're quieter. But I could play with regular sticks, and then we would hit the cymbal. So this particular cymbal is really cool. I'm going to take it off because it's kind of blocking our view here. But the thing I like about it, and I love the name, it's called a trash former. So it is a cymbal that looks like it's been warped. It came this way. And so it's just bent, and it's a sound effect. And it just it's kind of like a splash cymbal, but it's got a unique little sound. And it's just cool, and I could put this on my drum set, but I just happen to have it on the Latin stand. And I think what I may do too, I guess this little thing is going to be kind of in our way the whole time today, but I figured I'd take this off so you can see a little better. So that's the Latin stand, which is kind of fun. And
does the warp on the cymbal make the sound go whoa, whoa, whoa or something?
Well, it sounds to me like a traditional splash. It's kind of like a combination of the Wuhan, which I have, over here, and a splash, but then you've got this one. It sounds almost like a Wuhan, so it's a little bit, heavier, I would say, than a normal splash. This one is made by Zildjian. And again, it's just a special effect, and I'm sure there are people who, whacked the heck out of their splash and turned it into something like this. I'm sure there was some heat involved to get this to be kind of malformed, but it's just kind of unique, and it has a really cool sound. They're all a little bit different, so yeah. I kind of liked it. Yeah. So there you go, trash former, special effect. So I thought what we would do next is talk about the drum machine, and then I'm going to kind of put it away because it's taking up a lot of space. So basically, these were popular kind of in the 80s and 90s. It's basically just a box, and it was used before, in the 80s, we didn't have computers to make beats, and so inside this box are sounds. And not only that, but if there are sounds that you don't have with the box, you have these little cards. And each one of these cards has an additional 26 sounds. So this one is sound effects. This one is mallet percussion. This one is power drums, so a bunch of tom-toms. This one is blank, and you can create your own compositions with the sounds on this one. So you could actually go to a gig And let's say you're playing along on your drum set and you need the sound of glass crashing. You could take the sounds from this box and assign each of these pads, so you don't have to have this second device. You could just have the sounds on here or in the card that you insert. I've got another one in here that's ethnic percussion. But let's say I'm playing a gig and on one of the songs I want a glass crashing, I want a cat meowing, I want a gong, a timpani, some djembes. You would assign each pad a sound from this box. So when you hit the pad, you get the sound, and then it would be projected. And the other thing is, each one of these pads is called a patch, or each grouping. And so I have like potentially 100 patches. So let's say I'm playing a gig, and on song 1, I need the sounds I just mentioned. I would assign each of them ahead of time to the pad. When I hit the pad, you hear the sound. I would go to the next patch, and on this song, I want 8 other different sounds that maybe I can't get from my drum set. I could assign each pad that, and you could actually have tons of sounds available. And just to give an example, so what I did right now is I put the card in, and this is the demo. I did not compose this. This is the demo that's on the card. And these cards, they're amazing. I have the sheets of what sounds are on each card. And for instance, just to give you an idea, on the ethnic percussion card, which is this one right here, change my glasses out so I actually can see. So things like tabla. I have 3 tablas. I have things that I don't even know what they are. I'd have to look them up. There's some Tibetan. They kind of tell you where the origin is. A Rama cymbal was from Tibet. A single-headed drum from Western Africa. Japanese traditional double-headed drum. This is a Tsutsumi. Another one that's a Matsurdeko. Some taiko drums. Anyway, all of these different sounds are just on here. There's some on the special effects. I have a water droplet. I have a gunshot. I have a drill. I have a footstep. Car doors. Gongs. The mallet one has a bunch of marimba, xylophone, and it's just really amazing. Well, now computers can do a lot of this stuff, but just to give you an example of the demo song, I'm just going to play a little bit of this one that you could that you can hear, that they use a bunch of the different sounds. So here we go. Hopefully you can hear this pretty well. It's quiet to me, but I hope that you can hear it. Can you hear it okay? Okay. I'm going to let it play for a minute. So you get the idea. Now just the sounds that are in here, if I were just to kind of play, there's this pad bank right here. This is just like the pad bank up here. I could just go through a bunch of them. And then I could go to the next pad bank. I think it's going. Maybe not. I can also do rolls. I can do flams, which is 2 sounds at once. You get the idea. The other thing that you can do, hopefully you won't just hear through this sensitive mic that I'm talking through. You'll hear me hit the pad, but like in a setting like an arena or something like that, when you hit this, you wouldn't hear the pad sound. You would hear the sound that's assigned to the pad. So hopefully you can hear this pretty good. So I don't know how well it's projecting. I can barely hear it. But I just thought it would be cool to talk about what a drum machine could do. You can
Yeah.
actually program beats and things like that.
Yeah, the sound is coming across fine. How do you tell what pad you're hitting? They all look like little black squares to me.
Well, they actually are, and they have the names on them. So at least they have the names of the first 16. So I have a crash 1, a crash 2, a bell, a ride, tom 1, 2, 3, 4, side stick, rim shot, closed hi-hat, open hi-hat, kick drum, snare, pedal hi-hat, and a clap. But then I can change the bank, and I think there's like A, B, C, D, E, 5 pad banks. And I'd have to pull out I have my little sheet that tells me what sound is where. And then you buy the additional cards. And there were, I think, originally something like 9 cards. And each of these were pretty expensive. And, there's still a need for this. There are people who still love playing with sort of older technology. But now, computers, you can get sounds and do all kinds of stuff. But this was really, state of the art in the 80s. It was right after the first kind of electronic drum sets were kind of coming out. And the other thing is you could take this, and you still could, take this and let it communicate with your electronic drums and get additional sounds. So let's say you're playing your electronic drums and you needed a gong, and you could actually have this on your setup, have it pre-assigned, so every time you hit that particular pad, you would get the sound that you want. And so... and the sounds are really great and realistic, so they're great for recording and things like that. So it's just kind of, fun. And I know people have heard of drum machines. You still hear the sound of a drum machine, but it's made on a computer. But a lot of times, you hear a song on the radio, and I used to hear songs, and I'm like, that's not a drummer, I can tell. The sounds are processed and everything like that. Plus, a real drummer wouldn't be able to play that because you don't have enough limbs. Like what they were doing was a machine. And so there are a lot of people who, still create beats that are computerized and digitized that are not a real drummer. In fact, a lot of what you hear is not a real drummer. Or it could have been, but then it's been modified, or it's just been created, electronically. So kind of cool.
That is really impressive. I mean, when you have one of those things and know how to use it, it turns you into your own little recording studio if you wanted to. So you're a sound man. Yeah, but that is mind-boggling, though, how you can remember and do speed reading or remember which button goes with which sound versus, and then the different cards. I mean, that's just...
Well, the thing is, you do have to have, that's why I save the little programs so that I would know, okay, number 7 is such and such, and you just experiment and things like that. So, you definitely want to have like a little, it doesn't really tell you. So, I think further technology might have told you exactly what sound you're doing. And also, not only that, but you can edit the sounds. So you can make them be what you want, actually. And I really liked the mallet one that had all the marimba and things like that. And I actually created, I'll never forget, the first time I heard Katie Lang, I was in a Target, and I was just walking along and minding my own business. And on the overhead, very quietly, I heard Constant Craving, the song Constant Craving. And I was just like, I have to find out who that is, that voice. So, found out who it was, and then I really liked that song. So I actually, with my mallet card, I could play a little bit for you. It's a little cheesy, it's very old, but I actually created from the mallet card my arrangement of Constant Craving, and it's on this. And it just took so much incredible time, especially with the mallet instrument, because it was pitched, it wasn't just like a special effect or a beat. It was like melodic, and I wanted to have it sound like a percussion ensemble, like marimbas and xylophones and all that. And I'm not a marimba player. I never claimed to be. That was my one thing that I'd be like fearful of in symphonic band or concert band. I'd always want to play anything but a mallet instrument, and I never learned to play 4 mallets. Nowadays I would have had to as a percussion person, but it was just not my area. It wasn't my interest. And I play Bach and things like that with 2 mallets, but I never got into 4 and doing a lot of fancy marimba stuff. But it was my attempt to create something, and it turned out pretty good. But I remember spending hours and hours and hours trying to, like, not only figure out the machine, but get it to do what I wanted and assign the pads. And so, it was, everything was harder. Everything was a lot harder back then, and now it's, pretty easy, like Groove Scribe. We can just go and create our beat in 2 seconds and have it done. You could do the same thing here, but it was a little bit more of a painful process. So that's kind of cool. The other thing I might as well tell you this week, so I got the opportunity to go to my alma mater, Colorado State University, where I went to undergrad, and I have a seat there. You pay money and they put your name on a seat in the concert hall, and I got to go see my seat and sit in it. I'll have to send you a picture of me on my seat in the concert hall there, and they just have an amazing facility now. I mean, their music building we used to have one building, and now it's like this massive. They took the local high school, and they turned it into the music department, and it's a little bit off of campus, but it's just gorgeous, and they have state-of-the-art everything, and it was just really cool to go there. So that was really fun to go back and kind of like reminisce and be like, you always wonder when you sit down in the seat and you see somebody's name and you're kind of like, I wonder who that person was or whatever. So anyway, I'm sure people are like, Karen Newell, 1981 to 1986, drums and percussion. All right, whatever. But that's me. So I'm still alive and I still play drums. So that's really cool. I had fun doing that. Okay, so I have some toys that we haven't talked about. Some you've probably seen live, and I just gathered a bunch of them. As I start gathering them, I realize I have a lot of stuff. It's all scattered different places. But so I just thought we would do another tour of percussion. So I thought I'd start with chimes. So you all know that I make chimes. So here's just a few of my creations. Here's one. So these are the catering baskets. I've talked to you about these before, that they were always sitting in the hallway at Emory, and I was just like, what should we do with those? So, usually they're turned over and they've got a pan of food in it at a wedding or something like that. We used to have it on admission, interview days and such. But this one's got finger cymbals. It's got washers. It's got some keys, and it just has a great sound. And I think I told you the story about the original one that I made on Father's Day and played it at church with my dad's keys. I don't know where that one is. I thought I collected them all, but it's around here. So that was my original one. I had all his keys and I hung them, and it was just really cool. I played it on Father's Day, and then I played it a ton after that at different kind of what's called Tessé services, which are kind of like chant, and they're a lot of fun to play. I tried to make one out of shells, seashells. Seashells are very hard. When you try to drill through a seashell, this is where I almost probably lost a finger, because I was adamant I was going to drill through these. And, shells are also very slick. And so you got to drill, and I'm sure it's probably easier with the right drill. I just had a regular drill. It probably was a wood drill. I don't know. I didn't have all the special fancy metal drills and things. But I drilled each and every one of these, and, I'd be drilling, and then it would slide off, and I'd almost, go into my hand, and I'd do it again. And anyway, I will never make another one like this. But it's pretty, and it's got nice sound to it. Hopefully it's picking up some of these.
Where'd you get the shells from?
All over the place. I don't remember exactly. They were ones that I collected probably as a kid. And I was like, what am I going to do with these shells? And they were probably just in a drawer or something. And I was like, oh, chimes. That would be really cool to have metal and wood, and then more like a shell sound, kind of like glass or ceramic. So I was just looking for different sounds. And I just decided one day I would do that. So I do that. Sometimes I'm just like, I just get ideas, I get ideas and carry them out, Here's one made out of brackets. They're all the same. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to do one of all the same items? Plus, I found these at Emory, again, when they put together the desks there's a whole pile of leftover brackets, and I'm like, gosh, I hate to throw those away. Oh, I'll just make some chimes. So here's those. Then one year at the recital, I had all the students, these were adults and kids, everybody got a catering basket to go home and get some fishing line and make it uniquely yours. And then we'll play it at the recital. Everybody will play. There was a part in the song where we all run to our own chime or really just run to a chime and play them. But everybody created their own. And some people spelled their name, like they found an S from a metal item, and they would spell their name, or they would do something uniquely themselves. And so I made one too. It doesn't sound all that great, but it's very interesting. So on here is a combination of music and medicine. I've got hemostats, scissors for suturing, forceps, a little baby pair of drumsticks like a keychain, a little cymbal, tuning forks, a ring cutter if you go to the ER and need your ring removed. This is a ring cutter. Reflex hammer, of course, and a lizard. I had to have one lizard or some kind of, obviously the shirt, I like this sort of stuff. So there's one lizard, and the rest is either mostly medicine and some music, and it looks cool. And hey, I know where my stuff is. If I ever need my ring cutter, I'm like, oh, it's on the chimes. I can go get it. I don't have to go search for it in the medical bag, which is, crazy. Let's see. I think that's all the chimesy things that I have, at least right here. I have a few other cool things that we haven't talked about. This is kind of like a baby cajon. So cajon is like that box that you've seen people probably sit on and play with their hands. I actually don't have one of those. I'm not a big hand drummer person. I like a stick. I just feel so limited with hands because you could do so many. I'm a drum corps person. I want to do all those little notes that you can't do with just hands, or you beat your hands up pretty well. So this one is like it's got different sides to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides, and I think they call it an octa something cajon or whatever. It was their idea. Also, it has snares. It has a snare sound. So inside there's sort of like a snare strainer, what you'd find in the bottom of a snare drum. And so you would kind of put this, you would sit down, put this sort of in between your knees, and you would play it, or you could put it on a stand, and you could accompany somebody who's a folk guitarist or something like that. I don't use it all that much. I find that it slides out of my knees. It's like hard to hold on to. I probably really need its own little special stand, but it is kind of cool. It's quiet. You could play it with really soft mallets. It's something that you would accompany somebody. It's got different tones. It's got a hole here. You can see the snares inside. Anyway, so it's kind of unique. I think they expected it to be more popular than it was. I have not seen anybody else with one. Everybody's got the big cone that they haul around and sit on. Here's one that's kind of fun, totally up my alley. Looks like a trash can lid, which actually I have this size where we clang them together like cymbals. But this one's got some beads in it. You can make ocean sounds with it. It's actually got a head on it. So you could actually play on it. But it's meant to be like, played like, the ocean. But it's pretty cool. Don't get to use it all that much, but it's got a great special effects kind of sound to it.
What'd you call that one?
That one actually is called, let me see. I've got the box still. I'll tell you the actual name that they call it. They call it a trash snare, which, I don't know. It doesn't sound like a snare to me, but definitely something with the word trash can. So it's a trash snare. It was popular for a little while. Kind of gimmicky. Okay, let's see. Homemade chimes. Here's another one I meant to do earlier. So it's got a Home Depot bucket, and it's got some chain link. And you can mount this one. I actually had it mounted before on the Latin stand. Kind of quiet. Not as cool as I thought it was going to be. It looks interesting, though, to see this hanging from your Latin stand. But the chains are kind of, I don't know.
You could call it an octopus.
Ooh, whoa! I guess I need a new string. All right, didn't plan that to happen.
You should call that one an octopus.
Yeah, it kind of does look like one, doesn't it? A chain something, an octa-chain or something, if there's 8 of them. Okay, a couple of other things. I just started collecting stuff. I think we've seen this before. Hopefully I won't. Gosh, I'm destroying my studio. So this is a blogle tube. I used to bring this to class, and it's a toy really, but you swing it around. I got one that doesn't sound good. I'm going to have to do this again next week because usually it goes woo, woo. This particular one, I don't know. Maybe got left in the car, something. It's not as pliable. Anyway, the blogle tube. It's really kind of a toy. Here is a gourd with shells on it. It's kind of like a shaker-ray. And actually, I looked up some of this stuff because I'm like, I don't know the proper technique for some of these things. So the shaker-ray, it is a gourd. It can have shells or beads on it, and it can be like used with the palm of the hand. It can be, they say this is really not traditional, but it can be shaken like that. You can also do this kind of thing with the beads. And then they have this sort of technique where they rock it back and forth. And the people who are really, really good at this, the West African folks, they can really play the shaker-ray really well. So I have this one here, and then I have another one that's even more cool. It was actually even signed by the person who made it. This one's got, little beads as well. And again, it's a gourd. And they kind of do this sort of technique where they're kind of shaking it like this. And you can also do this kind of thing. So anyway, really, really cool. I'll have to send you videos of people who are, this is all they play. And they have amazing technique with that instrument. Here's one that I got recently. Fairly recently in Vietnam. I'm losing my cord is hung up, so I'm like on a tether here. Let's see. I'm going to put this one right about here. They call this the wooden fish. It also has a few other names to it. It's used a lot in Buddhist ceremonies and things like that. And there's a whole story behind the wooden fish. Again, I'll probably send it to you because I think they will explain it much better than I will. Oh, other random things. Everybody needs to have a train. Sometimes that comes up, and then you could go and do your little train beat. So that's kind of fun. Here's one. It seems more cool than it is. It's this piece of wood. Again, maybe I can do a different view here. But it's got these little slats, and they're kind of not connected. It's a slapstick. Can't really hear it all that well. The big slapstick that you use in concert band looks different than this, but it has kind of a nice idea to it. Then I have just some random toys. Here's just like a New Year's Eve. Kind of a bell. Here's a couple of other little toys. This one here's, just all kinds of things to make sort of a woodpecker sound. This is cool. This is like shaped like a skull, but it's a shaker. I have 2 or 3 of these. It's just kind of unique, the shape of it. Again, some other little random toys, noisemakers. Here's one. Again, kind of like a ratchet. Of course, a slide whistle. Sometimes that comes in handy if you're playing a circus tune or something like that. Here's another one that's just like a little toy. You know, just sometimes you can do this with special effects. This little thing, this is kind of neat. Sometimes this comes up in concert band. So it's just kind of like a little, if you're trying to do a circus. I was hoping Molly would be here today. So this is the bowron, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. So there's a whole, this is a Celtic instrument. Mine actually has this kind of handle, but they don't all. And it's kind of put on the leg like this, and this is called a tipper. And actually, again, I'll send you the video of the person who's explaining the how to actually play this, but it's sort of like you hold it like a pencil, and then you kind of turn it so the pencil's up sort of by your chin, okay, like this, and he describes how you basically go down and then come back up and down and up, and people kind of have this sort of a technique where it looks like he talks about, like doing this with your hand, but the people who play these, again, it's like amazing technique. This is their instrument. It's also called a frame drum. So I do not claim to be an expert about any of these things, but I just think it's really cool and interesting. And I know Molly actually even took lessons for a while on the bowron. Here's another one that's just like a crude kind of instrument, kind of like a little rattle. Here's one that I got in Vietnam that I got everybody in my percussion ensemble. This one, it's really got an art design to it. It's really pretty. It's got like this inlaid kind of flower, and this thing's super loud. It's super easy to play, but basically you just do this sort of thing. This one I just did label where I got it. I got it in Ho Chi Minh City, also known as Saigon, and the name of it is a songlon, or it's also known as a gongbon. I got it in 2017. So it's kind of neat. You could use this, again, some sort of traditional dance. So some of these, again, I had to look up. I've got my cheat sheet here. So this one, it's a tiny, it looks like a alligator with a tail. So here's the tail, here's the head. Sometimes these are longer, much bigger than this. This is from Japan originally. I actually got this in Vietnam too. But it's called a kokoriko, also known as a binzara. And this one, is just meant to be played like this, but there's other ones that have a longer body that you use with two hands, and you can kind of go back and forth. And again, there's some really cool videos on that instrument. So it's kind of interesting and unique. Here is a crude,
Karen,
I lost you.
The camera
Sorry.
disappeared. Okay,
Sorry. There we go.
You're back.
I'm running out of space in which to put stuff. So here's kind of like a ratchet. And then you also have the kind that you can kind of like in fact last night at concert band we have a song with the ratchet, and it has a little handle and you just go around. But it's the same idea. You've got something that's got sort of these little notches, and then instead of turning it like this, you hold the handle and you swing the top thing. But if you wanted, you could actually turn it that way too, which is kind of interesting. Here's one that somebody brought back to me from Brazil. It looks like it's got a head on it, and it's meant to be used with this sort of plastic stick. And it's like a baby drum. I mean, it's got a head, it's got the wooden component, and it's meant to be, let's say you're doing a samba down the street, as part of a parade or something. This really cuts through. You could whack this thing all day long. It's got this little plastic part. So it's kind of interesting. And, okay, a couple more. Let's see. Okay, here's one that somebody brought me back from, I believe it was Tibet. And it's a meditation or singing bowl. It's often used in different kind of meditations. You can use this little, it's kind of got felt on it, on this little kind of mallet. You can strike it, But what you're supposed to do is go around the bowl. And I was playing with this earlier today. There's a certain pressure, so I'm going to stop it for a second. You just kind of go around the bowl, but you have to actually push down. And then all of a sudden you'll feel this almost like electric vibration, and the bowl will start to really sing. It's called a singing bowl. So let's try that. And I can actually, hopefully you could hear that a little bit, but it's like alive. It starts vibrating, and it's like an electric humming, and you could just, and that'll linger for like a long, long time. So it's just a really, really beautiful, cool thing. Here's something I know we've seen before. It's like this looks like a frog. He's got this little stick. And a lot of people want to hold the fat part and use the thin part, but it's just the opposite. You hold the thin part and you rub it on the frog's back. And it sounds like a cricket. They have different sizes. So, and then actually there's a convenient place to put the stick right through the frog. I like the small ones rather than the big ones. I just think they sound better. Here's another one I brought back from Vietnam. And I think I was telling you guys about this one before. So it's made out of bamboo. This is actually called a T''RUNG. I got it in that little village I was talking about where we slept in an open air, basically like an open air home. We were in the upper level. But, and right now it needs to be adjusted slightly, but you've got these little mallets. And it was traditionally used after people were working in the fields all day to come in, and they would do like songs and dancing, and it was like a relaxation thing. And it's kind of like a xylophone, a bamboo tube xylophone. Let's see, is that everything that I wanted to talk about? That's a lot of really random. Oh, one more thing. I think I've showed you this before. I've wore this before. Let me put this back. So New Orleans. And I've got the two little spoons, but what I like even better, I have so many random things everywhere. I really love this. It's put out by Latin Percussion also. And it looks like a comb. Let's see. Looks like something you'd put in your hair, right? And but you can use it. You might need two of them. You could also use this on a guiro. I wouldn't use it on a wooden guiro, but there are sort of guiros that are made out of metal. And again, in samba and Brazilian music, it might be used. So it's kind of neat. And this was made by somebody. This was really an expensive one, several $100s, believe it or not, by somebody who actually was in New Orleans. It's not a toy. This is like a real one. They have different ones, and so this is really, really cool. I got it sent to me from, the Bayou. It was really awesome. I don't get to play it very much, but let's see. Gosh, we covered a lot of stuff. What questions do you have?
That last one would be perfect for it. What is that marching seed and feed band?
Yeah, I actually played with them in the 90s. And I'll never forget going, and my first rehearsal, I was like, so where's the music? Like the sheet music. And they go, oh, there's no music. And I'm like, well, how do we know, like, all of us drummers are going to play together? They go, play whatever you want. I'm like, okay. I had come from drum corps, so I was just like, okay. And then when it came to like what we wear, I'm like, well, okay, so we have to show up in Inman Park for the parade at such and such time. So like, what do we wear? They go, whatever you want. The weirder, the better. I'm like, okay. So anything goes. I have a friend now who's playing with them. So it is a super lot of fun. It's a free for all, you know. Some of the other instruments actually do have music, but the drum section, there were a lot of people there who don't read music, and they were anti, we are not going to be a marching band. We are the seed and feed marching of abdominals, and we play whatever the heck we want to. And so that's what makes it really fun. I mean, just the most random feathers and crate paper and hats that don't match and like, hey, I probably fit in pretty well just in my regular daily clothes. But anyway, yeah, lots of fun. Super lots of fun. Let's see. How are we doing on time? I can't even get to my clock from where I am. I have so much stuff here. I have to put it all away. Oh, we still have time.
Yeah, I love your little frog cricket. That is so cute. But I've got a question about that slapping instrument. Is that what do they use on, like to get clapping noises on like those a lot of jazz pieces?
Well, last night, actually, and right around the holiday time, I don't remember the name of the song. I think it's one of the holiday traditional Christmassy songs. But you actually have these two pieces of wood. You can make it with a handle. And when you do this, it sounds like a whip. It sounds like you're doing, like you're in the back of a horse buggy and, crack. So there's some songs that call for that, concert band music that call for that. You can make one or you can buy one, but it's just basically two pieces of wood and then there's a handle down below. And it's on a hinge. So one of the pieces moves, and then when you go like this, the parts come apart and it slaps, and it sounds like a clapping sound, and it's really loud. The other thing that you can do, and last night I noticed ours were homemade, they weren't store-bought. It's 2 blocks, and the guy who was there, he's 87, he told me he made them. I go, oh, these are really ingenious. He goes, oh, I made those. So you get 2 little blocks of wood, you get a handle like you would use in your kitchen or your bathroom, you screw the handle into the block of wood, you get some sandpaper, and he had it really nicely, the whole front was coated, and then it went around the sides, and it was stapled in. And you get 2 of those. So you got these little handles and these little blocks of woods, and you could, you could do the choo-choo thing. So there's places in concert band music that call for that. They call for basically sandpaper blocks, or they call it crack the whip. And so, they're used in that way, and you can make them. The other thing that I noticed he had this little piece of wood. It was like a square, so it had 4 sides to it with a little handle that was more rounded. And he had taken jingle bells, or just, like what you go to Michael's craft store and get these metal, they look like jingle bells, the big ones. And he had gotten a little thumb screw and screwed them in, maybe 4 on a side. So 4 on this side, 4 on this side, 4 on this side, 4 on this side. So 16. And you shake it, and he turned it into a jingle bell. But it was kind of quiet. So a lot of these instruments are used, they can be used in jazz, or they can be used for special effects. They can be made. You can buy them. And so, yeah, sometimes it's really cool to just kind of see what people come up with. But a lot of them have the same, if you notice, there's some themes. The theme is like the guiro theme. It's got the ridges, and something is struck along it. They can maybe be made from wood. They can be made from metal, but they have that characteristic ridges. And I told you about my cardboard box, which is around here somewhere, that has that. You could just do that, and you've got a guiro. Other ones are like the ratchet concept, where you have something that's moving, and something that's got like is round and has some kind of like little, like a gear almost. Then there's the one that, like this concept, how many different times we've seen. Okay, so here's it's a toy, and here's a real ethnic one. But the concept is the same. It's got like 2 little balls that have like a little stem and a handle. and all different, you start to kind of see that there's certain themes, like the flexitone even kind of fits into that theme, but there's only so many things that you can have. Then there's the chimey sort of thing. Things are hanging and you're shaking it in some way. And percussion actually, if you study percussion and world percussion, which again, that's not my forte. My forte is drum set and marching. But the whole world thing, when I've talked to you all about going to PASIC, Percussive Art Society, they have the gurus of each of these instruments. The guru playing tabla. That's all they play all day long, for their whole life, starting when they're like barely could walk. So, these people are amazing and have these incredible techniques. And for every instrument that you name, you've got a guru who can do these things. So, the rest of us are just kind of like, like to learn about it and use it occasionally, but definitely don't consider ourselves, an expert by any stretch. So, and I always found myself never getting to go to the world percussion stuff just because there was always a marching person and a drum set person going on at the same time. And I had a hard enough time just going between those two because I was like, oh, I'm missing this to go to that. And then you add the world percussion, so I never got to any of that stuff. And this happens every year at this conference. And then the fourth thing is the legit concert. The people that are just like the marimba players, all the symphony players, and they want to go to some timpani clinic or whatever. So I definitely never went to any of that stuff. It's fascinating, and each instrument has its own entire amazing, that's the thing that's unique about percussion versus, let's say you play trumpet. Okay? You play trumpet. Percussion, oh my gosh, there's a whole world of stuff, and people usually gravitate to a particular genre or particular area and focus there, because if you try to do everything, you barely be good at anything. You have to pick a couple things to try to pursue. And, if you play trumpet, you might do jazz versus classical, but that's about the extent of it. Or maybe you do Dixieland versus, more modern jazz, but it's pretty much the same. It's the trumpet, same with sax. You could do concert sax, you could do jazz. That's about it. You're not like doing Brazilian and, like all this stuff like we do. No offense to the other instruments, but we have a lot more stuff to potentially delve and learn about. And so anyway, I don't know if I even answered your question. We start off with one thing, and then Karen Newells goes down some other bunny path.
You did. This is amazing. I mean, it's like worldwide. It's like universal. Everybody has, like you say, around a theme. You have a certain type of instrument, and depending on what materials they've got, that's what they make it with. But yeah, same concept. That's cool.
And isn't it interesting that historically a lot of these countries and people didn't know one another? So it's so unique and cool to see, Japan's version of African's version of Australia's version of a particular type of instrument. Like they all kind of figured it out. The drum was all over. And next week I'm going to bring some Native American drums and some Indian kind of drums that we'll talk about. I'll clear all these little toys out so I have more room. You should see, I should take a picture of the rat's nest right in front of me here, because I tuned up, I have my drum set all mic'd up and I'm doing some recording, and so I've got like two projects going on. One is the drum set project that's got tons of mics everywhere, and then one of them's hey, for Friday I'm going to pull out all this random stuff and talk about it. So I can't wait to put all this stuff away so I can actually walk through here. And but I love doing this, just creating things, setting it all up, doing something with it, then putting it away, pulling out a whole new random. And maybe one of the things that I mentioned before, I'm not quite ready to do it yet, but I would love to set up the blue drum set and set up the oyster drum set and set up the green drum set and do a tour of each of the drum sets. But that means I have to take the pearl drum set down and put it away. And so I'm not ready to do that just yet. But when I do, in its place will be something else, and we can talk about it. So, and that's coming because our weather's getting cool here, and this is what I do all day is pilfer around in the studio. And so that'll be awesome in a blizzard, like I'll be down here setting up drums.
Yeah.
There's Barb. Hey, Barb.
I have been here the whole time on my phone. I pushed some button last night on my AOL. Can you believe I must AOL? And my computer is like a nightmare. I can't even get a mail. So I've been cleaning and doing all that stuff, but I've heard everything.
Okay. What's your favorite thing that we talked about today?
Well, I like the key thing. You inspired me. I think I showed you my key thing, didn't I? Where you did the keys on the hanging in the chimes.
Yeah. Do you have it?
Yeah.
Do you have it handy?
I have it. Hang on, I'll get it.
I'm glad we're recording this for Molly and Joanne and the others, but hopefully they'll be back. I think we'll have another really cool program next week with some of the other drums, but send me your ideas. I know, Jasmine, you asked about the conga. We can talk about the conga maybe next week, and I'll send you some videos of some of these, just short ones. I like the ones that are really kind of quick of demonstrating technique of some of these instruments, by people who really, do this all the time. This is their thing. So I just have an appreciation of, this is the appreciation of percussion instruments. And then I'm much more of an expert on the marching stuff and the drum set stuff. But, oh, cool. I see it.
This is a sofa I couldn't get rid of, so I told my carpenter to cut it up. We cut it up, and I looked at the springs. I said, we're saving those. Nice.
I love it.
Stands
I
up.
think Barb is going to teach her own show pretty soon.
No, not quite yet.
And Jasmine's going to do tour of the world and show us all these amazing places, that to travel to. So we got the travel thing. I had an idea, and I might pitch this to Victoria and Valerie and how we did show and tell of music. I have a bunch of medical equipment that would be fun to, it's not music, but it's a show and tell of like, this is used for this and this is used for that. I don't know. It's a whole different thing. But I was just like, as I'm pulling through, I see all this stuff and I'm like, this is kind of interesting stuff. Like somebody would probably find this really interesting. So I don't know. If we ever run out of drum stuff to talk about, we can do a tour of the medical instruments and such.
I would love that. I got this. Did you have one of these?
Oh, wow. Has that got 3 rounded circles?
Yeah,
okay, no. I have something similar in my bedroom wall, but it's a little bit different.
What about
that's cool. I have one of those. New Year's Eve is a good time for percussion,
They have little shops in Mexico that are kind of like Dollar Trees where you go in and buy hair clips and all that. And you can find all kinds of children's toys that make noise. And then, I don't know where I got this. It's called a Remo Percussion.
Yeah, that's a lollipop. I have one of those in my car right now. And they quit making them because I just tried to order about 20 of them for my senior group here. And they're not making them anymore. So I'm on back order.
Yeah, these are cool.
Yeah, it's called a lollipop.
What they need is put holes in it and do like a face mask, like for Halloween, like a Mardi Gras face mask or something.
Okay.
It still makes noise.
Well, I think we might have to stop. But bring your stuff next week. What we didn't get to, but I think it's almost time for the next session. So thank you, Valerie, for being here, and I'll send you all the recording, and hopefully we'll have our usual gang back together next week. So have a great weekend, and I will see you all later.
You recorded this where you can send it to us, right?
Yes.
I love instruments.
All right, y'all. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I can't believe I finally got on. But my phone doesn't let a picture show for me that I'm there.